No one expected Heughan to say something that would rattle the fandom to its very foundation. It happened quietly, almost unintentionally, in a moment that was never meant to carry emotional gravity. Yet the second the words left his mouth, the atmosphere changed. Viewers felt it. Interviewers went still. And within minutes, the internet exploded, because for the first time in years, Sam spoke openly about the depth of his feelings for Caitriona Balfe. It wasn't a dramatic revelation. There was no build-up, no flourish, no carefully constructed confession. His voice was gentle, almost hesitant, as if the truth slipped out before he could hold it back. He spoke of a connection that went far beyond what audiences see on screen, a bond he described as rare, something he said he would always treasure. Those few words carried more weight than any love scene they had ever filmed, more power than any scripted moment they had ever shared. For those who had followed their journey closely, the roots of this emotional shockwave had been planted long ago. From their very first screen test, directors sensed they had discovered something extraordinary. Sam and Caitriona didn't simply portray characters, they vanished into them. Their chemistry was immediate, combustible, and impossible to fabricate. The instant they looked at each other, Jamie and Claire were born. Over the years, fans watched that bond mature, deepening and evolving into something more layered than romance. It became a friendship grounded in trust, loyalty, and unspoken understanding, something so authentic that even the camera sometimes struggled to fully capture it. That intimacy, that effortless comfort, has always fueled questions. Fans never forgot certain moments. The way Sam's gaze softened whenever it landed on Caitriona, the instinctively protective tone he used when speaking about her, the private jokes only they seemed to share. People replayed clips, slowed scenes down, dissected smiles that felt too sincere to be purely performative. And again, the same question surfaced: was there something more? For years, Sam sidestepped the speculation. He laughed it off, redirected attention to Caitriona's talent, and emphasized the professional partnership. But never, until now, had he admitted that his feelings ran deeper than anyone had assumed. The moment that shifted everything came during a behind-the-scenes interview for a new Outlander promotion. The interviewer casually asked about the intensity of their bond after so many years working side by side. Sam paused, longer than usual. His expression softened. Then he spoke, words that felt like a quiet window into a truth he had carried for a long time. "She means a lot to me," he said. "More than people know. It's a connection I'll always hold close." That one sentence shattered the internet. Fans clipped the video and shared it everywhere. Edits emerged. Emotional montages, slow music, lingering close-ups. Social media erupted. Some called it a confession. Others said it was the moment they had been waiting years for. Many were simply stunned that Sam, normally so measured with his words, had allowed such unfiltered honesty to surface. Yet his vulnerability hadn't appeared out of nowhere. His history with Caitriona was filled with moments where raw emotion quietly slipped through. At awards shows, his admiration for her was unmistakable. During table reads, they leaned toward one another unconsciously. On red carpets, their laughter always felt closer, softer, more intimate. None of it seemed calculated. It was instinctive. Even their co-stars spoke openly about their bond, calling it rare, unbreakable, and among the strongest partnerships in the industry, fueling belief that something deeper existed beyond the camera. And Sam wasn't the only one who gave fans reason to wonder. Caitriona, too, often spoke of him with profound affection. She called him her rock, her constant, the person who carried her through the hardest stretches of filming. Still, hearing Sam finally articulate his feelings felt different. It felt monumental. Once his words spread, fans revisited old interviews, suddenly hearing them through a new emotional lens. They remembered how Sam seemed shaken when Caitriona announced her wedding, how he grew quiet when asked about it, how his voice appeared to falter. What once felt subtle now felt heavy, almost heartbreaking. But the greatest shock wasn't the past. It was what those feelings might mean now. Industry insiders whispered that Sam had been reflecting deeply on his life, his relationships, his career, and the emotional cost of working so closely with someone he admired on a soul-deep level. His words, they said, weren't a mistake. They were truth forcing its way through years of restraint. If that was true, It meant those feelings had existed quietly, respectfully, but intensely for a very long time. The moment didn't just reveal how he felt. It opened a door the fandom wasn't prepared for. It forced people to ask uncomfortable questions. Was this love? Unspoken affection? Or the kind of rare, irreplaceable soul bond that appears once in a lifetime? And as reactions flooded social media, one question rose above all others. If Sam finally spoke from the heart, how would Caitriona respond? The fandom erupted into chaos. For some, it was beautiful. For others, painful. People cried, argued, celebrated, and analyzed every second of the clip, replaying it again and again, hearing new vulnerability in his voice, seeing deeper emotion in his eyes. It was no longer just a sentence. It became a confession the world couldn't look away from. By the next morning, major entertainment outlets had turned the moment into headlines. Some called it Sam's accidental love confession. Others framed it as a turning point in the Sam-Caitriona dynamic fans had debated for years. The media frenzy only amplified the emotional storm. But while the world theorized, the weight of Sam's words landed heaviest on one person, Caitriona herself. She had heard his praise before. This was different. This time, the emotion was unmistakable, and the entire world heard it too. Those close to her said she watched the clip alone, visibly affected. Some described her as stunned, others as emotional. Everyone agreed the moment struck deeply. Sam wasn't just her co-star, he was someone who had shared a decade of triumphs, struggles, and transformation with her. That reality clashed with the complexity of her personal life, responsibilities, and public image. If she spoke too openly, rumors would spiral. If she stayed silent, speculation would only grow. Silence became both shield and risk. The internet showed no restraint. Past moments were re-examined obsessively. Sam's shaking voice at her wedding, the tight embraces at wrap parties, Caitriona resting her head on his shoulder during long filming days. Every detail was viewed through a new lens. The fandom divided, not with hostility, but with intensity. Some defended Caitriona fiercely, reminding others that deep emotion doesn't automatically equal romance. Others argued that unspoken bonds can be powerful and transformative. Then came the unexpected turn. Tony McGill's name was pulled into the storm. Though he had remained distant and silent, tabloids suddenly speculated about his reaction, suggesting discomfort or surprise. Truth became secondary to momentum. Tony became the uninvited shadow in a story driven by emotion rather than fact. Through it all, Sam remained quiet, not evasive, but dignified. He issued no clarifications, no PR spin. He allowed the truth to exist, even if it stirred discomfort. It felt as though he had finally stopped running from what he felt. As days passed, shock gave way to reflection. What did this admission mean? For Sam, for Caitriona, for the bond they shared. Could two people hold something so profound without crossing lines? Could such depth exist without demanding change? Hollywood, predictably, added pressure. Production insiders hinted at concern. Publicists pushed for clarification. Sam refused. Then, softly and without drama, Caitriona spoke. Her response was thoughtful, warm, and emotionally grounded. She acknowledged Sam's words with gratitude and described their connection as one of the most meaningful of her life. She didn't deny it. She didn't deflect. She honored it. That quiet honesty reignited the fandom all over again. Tears were shed. Essays were written. People declared that Sam and Caitriona had redefined the idea of soul bonds. Yet beneath all the noise, one truth remained undeniable. Some connections aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be felt. And as the chaos finally began to settle, one question continued to echo through every corner of the fandom. Had Sam revealed his heart because something new was beginning, or because it was the truth he needed to finally let go?